Welcome to the Perlo Podcast. We talk construction, its people, its challenges, its opportunities. I think people generally understand how challenging it can be financially for students to get through school. That's a pretty common story out there. I think what's less understood is how challenging it is for people starting in the trades and apprentices. I know that for me, it was a question. Why do apprentices need help? Because they are working and making money. But the reality is that they usually, if they're in their apprenticeship program, have something like 4 weeks a year where they have to go to school for their trade. And during those weeks, they don't get paid. They also have to find projects where apprentices are accepted, which not every project or those opportunities aren't always super common. So apprentices often have to travel around the region to get work in order to fill their apprenticeship hours. So if you think about the logistics of that, they have to take 4 weeks off where they don't get paid. They also may have to travel for temporary stints, and especially right now in the housing shortage, where are you going to find an apartment where you can live for a month or 2 months and then have to come back home? So I think it is not as well known how challenging it can be for people to get through those apprentice times in their lives in order to become a journeyman. So can you talk more about that and what you've seen result from supporting those folks?
Sure. I mean, everything you described is right. The going through an apprenticeship program is incredibly challenging, and depending on the economy and what's going on, some apprentices who are incredibly talented and doing great work, the economy turns down, and unfortunately, a lot of companies view them as they want to hang on to their senior people. And so they look at it and go, well, I don't know how long this is going to last. If I'm going to hang on to people, I'm going to hang on to my 10-year foreman, which is understandable. But so then the apprentice gets cast aside, and a lot of them end up changing professions or having to figure out something else to do. So, the reason that we're excited about having the apprentices involved is I think it'll promote the idea. What we try to do is if we get an apprentice, we almost want them to be the last one we let go, because that's the future. And, our other folks have made it and they're going to be fine. And, we're going to take care of them also. But there's a special obligation to an apprentice to not cast them aside. If the economy dictates and things don't go, you got to do what you got to do. But you don't do that without really considering the long-term impacts of that. And this year's event and some of the apprentices that spoke, it was just unbelievably inspiring how much it meant to them to be a part of this.
Yeah, I've actually had that same question when I do go to speak with the apprenticeship at the unions. Is they completely understand the structure for an undergraduate, but how does that apply to me? And we flush that out with how many of you guys travel, over 50 miles to go to the job, or over 100 miles to go to the last job, and half the room raises their hand. And so it's reliable transportation. It's childcare there's single parents, or there's even two working parents that we have to be on the job sites at 6, 7 a.m., not 9. It's not banker's hours. So right. There's help needed in the AM and the PM sometimes for that apprentice to satisfy his or her job requirements. And so in addition to being out of work and going to the schooling, I think a lot of it is safety gear, tooling, and that's some of the most recent apprentices have communicated back to us. I was able to buy. One is a heavy-duty mechanic. I was able to buy, some of my HDR tooling. Some of them actually went on their own and went through some CDL classes because they weren't accepted. They were in the pre-apprenticeship coming out of high school, so they weren't in the union yet to take advantage of that training. So they went off and got some certifications and some certifications on their own that cost money, and they used those funds through the scholarship to do that. The gentleman, Furness Campbell, facilitated that this last year before he got accepted in the union.
Visit us online at perlo.biz, subscribe to catch our future episodes, and join us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube to discuss all things construction. And finally, work hard, do what's right, and make it fun.